How's it going, everybody? I'm Ash,
I'm Car Dreamer.
and we're having another discussion video. And this is the rise and fall of Comcept.
Should be noted, in order to rise, or excuse me, in order to fall, you have to get somewhere.
I mean, you're not wrong, but let's look at what Concept's done initially. It's originally started by Kaiji Inafune. You know,
Creator of Mega Man.
well,
Co-creator, or at least one of the longest running workers on Mega Man.
that I would agree. At least, like, I would say the forefather of Mega Man at the very least. Sound good? But overall, you know, he left Capcom, started his own company, and made Mighty Number 9. Now, that all started back with the Kickstarter. Now, do you know much about that yourself?
I know he went overboard.
You're not wrong.
He started a Kickstarter to fund a company to do a spiritual successor of Mega Man because Capcom, granted, Capcom was being idiots, and they still are, because they refuse to do anything real with the Mega Man franchise, the original Mega Man franchise.
Now, don't get us wrong. We're not trying to slander Capcom at all in this, but like
he's not.
Fair. I still love their Monster Hunter series, so leave me alone. But here's the thing, though. I love Mega Man. That was one of my first video games growing up. And let's be honest. If you played Mega Man, you learned as you played. I think that was like one of the biggest things about Mega Man.
That is absolutely true, because back in the day I probably would have argued that it's not. Back when I originally played it on the Nintendo, because you do it without even shut up, D-class. Because back then you played, back with the original Nintendo, there was no DLC, so you replayed games for what they were.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even realize you're learning things. You didn't, sit there and learn, if I do this, it's better. You're more like, how can I make this quicker? How can I do this quicker? Or what can I do that the game wasn't meant to do? Or abuse the game in some way? And now, when the Mega Man Legacy Collection came out and I went to play it, I suck.
Yeah.
I can't even get past the first stage in Mega Man 1, and I remember playing them and never having a problem. So it's like, it really is a learned game. Like, you don't realize just how modern gaming affects you going back to a retro gaming when it's been so long.
And that's why I love retro games. And the reason for that is, like, you played Mega Man, you saw everything how the world was, you screwed up, you died. And that would happen a lot, because it's fucking Mega Man. But, it was never unfair. Like, nowadays there's so much hand-holding in gaming.
There really is. Mario is a really bad example of that lately. But we're getting a little off topic.
Yeah, we are getting off topic, but just there's a little tidbit I thought that was important because it plays the whole Mighty Number 9 thing. There's a lot of hand-holding here. Like, you don't get to play around with the abilities and figure things out. There is literally, on the left side of the main menu for area selection, like, you hit the L button, you go off to the next screen. There is literally an entire help section telling you how the abilities work, how to use them, and it kind of goes against the whole theme of Mega Man. Just the fact that there's that much hand-holding there when the original Mega Man, the original X and all that stuff, like, none of that. You either learned on the go, succeeded, or died, or, you put down the game and play something else.
True. But, so, go back to the Kickstarter. Yeah, so, basically, what they wanted to do was a spiritual successor to that, getting back to the glory days of something everybody liked. They did a Kickstarter, which was overwhelmingly, ridiculously successful.
They made so much money in just the first day alone. They basically doubled or tripled how much they made. It was an insane amount. I think they wanted what was it, either $1 million or over 400,000. It was a very large number. I Should probably look it up right now, but I'm too lazy to do it.
Well, the point is, we know they were overly successful. I mean, there is no argument how successful he was.
Yeah.
And they added because of how successful they were, they added a crap ton to their original.
It was not a good idea.
Minimalist goals. No, when they first started, he had a very small plan. He probably should have stuck with it. He was just going to do a digital release of this basic game, and because he made so much, he was trying to
sell it more.
He was trying to give you more for the money. He was like, "Hey, I appreciate all your support. Here's what we're going to do for you now." The problem is, I don't think he increased his staff to do it.
No, here's the thing though. A lot of the staff members he had on his team were people who originally worked on the individual making of games. Veterans who either dealt with the game design, the music, the level design, character design, all that stuff. Aside from himself, who did the major initial ideas, and he had a good staff. He had good ideas. The problem was just the execution, the greed, and just he didn't pace himself. That I think is a major problem. He did not pace himself. He was so focused on making this the next Mega Man that he got away from the actual idea of making it a good game first.
I would tend to agree with most of those statements. I don't know if I would argue greed. I think he got cocky. I think he felt his name carried more weight than it did. And yes, when it comes to Mega Man, his name is huge. I get that, and I respect that. But outside of Mega Man, outside of what little bit he's done for Capcom, he's got nothing.
He's worked on a lot of the Resident Evil games, I know that much. I think 4 is one of the bigger ones. It's been a lot, I need to double check. But overall, it's just, the reason I said greed, and this is why I think that's true, because after a point he started pointing out, commercials for a TV show. He's trying to pitch out, t-shirts. Just a lot of merchandise type stuff that make more money to make this, more successful, to get people, show their support for it. That's why I said greed.
No, then I see that. And yeah, that's something he definitely should not have been doing until you know what you have is successful. If your game stinks, nobody wants a shirt of a game that was horrible. I mean, it just doesn't happen. You don't see people wearing t-shirts for Mario is Missing.
That's way old. Man.
Well, I'm there's just so many bad games. I mean,
I'm not gonna argue that. But, overall, it's just, when the game originally came out, they met their goal within, the first day, and still had, another 30 or so games, 30 or so days, not games, to go before, it was actually greenlit. Because the way Kickstarter works is that, people pledge their money, and it's an agreement that after the time elapsed, they would automatically withdraw that money the person donated to fund this game or project. That's usually how it works with Kickstarter. And, it's a interesting system because of that. Because look at Shovel Knight, another Kickstarter game that was hugely successful.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Kickstarter can be done extremely, extremely well. And it's not just with video games. My brother has contributed to quite a few Kickstarter projects outside the video game. He donated to the Cyanide and Happiness card game. There was a couple other ones he did.
Wait, they got a card game there?
Yeah, I showed you some of those. I showed you some of those nice little comic strips we put together.
Well, I know I'm spending money on my next paycheck for, but
dude, it is great. And those things were successful. I would love to. I wish I had been able to do it, but he's donated and got some really nice products out of it. I should have him take a picture of them all, but that's off tangent. Right. The point is, they didn't sit there and go, "Hey, we're making a card game, a board game, a straight to DVD." They didn't do all that. It was, this is what we're doing.
They wanted to get an animated series going. They wanted to get merchandise going. They wanted to fund more of the projects, because immediately before Mighty No. 9 was done, they launched another Kickstarter for a game called Red Ash, a spiritual successor for Mega Man Legends. One of my personal favorite Mega Man games because it broke the formula in a strange sandbox RPG-esque way, which I enjoyed. But
well, Red Ash was a little prophetic because now their company is nothing but a pile of ash.
As far as we know, according to Kaiji Inafune and whatever, they're still trying to get that project going, which I'm hoping for because from what they say, and I'm holding my breath here because of what they're saying, it's going to be just as long as the original Legends games, which is, you can easily beat that game in around, 4, 6, 8 hours. It's actually a really short game, but it's all the mini stuff around, caring for the characters that, make it longer, which I like. But that's if they're actually going to follow through with that. I'm hoping, not hold my breath. And it's just, when they announced that Kickstarter, they announced 2 Kickstarters. So, in total, 3 Kickstarters were made by this guy. And, I'm probably beating a dead horse here because this has been talked about since, the initial idea of Mighty Number 9. The Kickstarters, the company, the idea behind it all, and the application of what they're doing. This has all been beaten to death at this point.
Well,
but we're talking about the rise and fall of the company here. And I just want to make that clear in case you people are thinking we're just hating on, Kaiji Inafune or Comcept or Mighty Number 9. Like, I've actually played Mighty Number 9. Mighty Number 9, blah, blah, blah. Can't talk.
Which can be seen in the background.
Right. This is the footage I took, just playing the game after my initial playthrough and all that stuff. But point is, it's for what it is. For what it is, as a Mega Man-esque game with a speedrunner demographic in mind, it's not bad. Broken, I will say that because there were some powers that were just completely useless, and others that were OP as hell. For example, the water boss, Mighty Number 2, had the freeze ability. That made everything easy mode. Because you got higher scores for freezing enemies, you could attack for them, and you didn't lose points from decay. That plays into the whole thing of why the game was falling apart because there were several delays. People didn't get their codes for when they put money towards the Kickstarter, and
or they weren't getting the right codes,
or exactly not even get the right codes. It's just there was a lot of stuff that just went wrong, and it's just hard to say. I don't want to blame anyone, but there's something that clearly went wrong, and it's just hard to pinpoint where it was.
I have a funny feeling as he couldn't get the game done when he wanted, in spite of having the budget to do it. He just didn't have the manpower, and it got delayed and got delayed and got delayed to the point where he was obviously pressured by fans and by what other private backers he had. He had no choice but to get this game out. So it got put out faster than they were ready for. They didn't have the systems in place to do it properly. They didn't test anything.
I do recall that one of the pushbacks was because they want online capability, the whole trial modes, the 2-player based trial missions, all that stuff. Good to go for when the game came out. And they succeeded in that fact, but I feel like had they foregone that, added in at a later date, and focused more on the main content and stuff, it would have been better, in my opinion. If you look at the early concept art and some of the earlier rough gameplay videos for this game, it looked amazing. Honestly, Beck is chibi. He's a chibi. He's got the big head, kind of the weird body and all that stuff, typical of a chibi from anime, which isn't terrible, but it reminds me of Mega Man Powered Up, and that was a chibi kind of a parody Mega Man game in a sense. It was made by Capcom, but even the characters acted out of character. Like Fireman, or what was the first Fire Robot Master?
It is Fireman, I believe.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's Fireman. For some reason,
Fireman or Flame Man, one of those.
Torchman or something. That's something.
Yeah.
Something fire based. It's been a while, but overall,
it's a man.
Yes, made of fire. But he had a Western accent in Mega Man Powered Up, and it was just like it was both goofy and entertaining at the same time. Like it had a good balance in that sense. And like if they had gone with like kind of that route with this game, I don't think it would have been as bad.
Well, I don't want to get too much into the what I like or dislike about the game because that's best left off for a review type of thing.
Which is coming later, actually. That's going to be in my next video.
But I do feel that the game could have definitely been done better. Not in necessarily how well the gameplay works or doesn't work, what have you. I haven't played it personally, so I can't say if it works or doesn't work. Just from watching you play and watching these clips, it looks like it runs smooth, but I feel like he could have done so much more. I feel like the PlayStation 2 and Mega Man X games looked better than this.
See, I would agree with that. Because, take the hardware we're talking about here. With X and, Mega Man, X, and now Mighty Number 9, for example. The hardware differences between those three different iterations of a genre. I'm just going to say a genre since they're not all canonically evolved with each other. Well, at least, the one isn't. But just, the genre, it's that, like, Mighty Number 9 looks like something that you could put on a game from, like, the GameCube. And this would have been massively successful. This would have been perfect for the GameCube. Not PS4, not Xbox, maybe the Wii. No, but seriously, in all seriousness, it just doesn't feel like it fits with this generation of gaming. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some games in this style that absolutely work, but for what this game is, what it's based off of, and where it's coming from in terms of roots, I don't feel like it does.
You want my honest opinion?
Go
you
for it.
Should never have tried doing a Mega Man successor. I'm real finicky when it comes to this whole spiritual successor thing that's become so popular. Which honestly, I feel like Mighty Number 9, this whole thing started because you got Mighty Number 9, Red Ash, then you had the creator of Castlevania, you got those people doing
Bloodstain, Yooka-Laylee, yeah. And Yooka-Laylee actually wasn't that bad. It feels like,
it got mixed, but I mean that's not here. I think it started a craze that can be either good or bad, and to me it depends on the franchise you're doing the successor of. Mega Man should not have a spiritual successor because it's.
How do you succeed it?
It's not just that. It's because it's always going to be compared to something it can't be legally, technically, whatever you want to put it. You just can't be that. And I'm not saying there isn't room in any genre for competition or for companionship, however you want to look at it. But when it's coming from the same creator as the original one you're trying to succeed, it's like it almost comes across you have no better idea. You don't have anything fresh left in you. And the way this game was executed, the way it kept failing the part, the way you kept banking on it before anything was done, kind of reinforces that image. You had nothing left. You were trying to do something for fans, and I believe that, but at the same time, I believe that you were just sick of Capcom. You weren't ready to retire. You really reached. And you fell flat because you couldn't afford to do it right. Or that's not even true with the Kickstarter. How much the Kickstarter made. Like you said earlier, he got greedy and he overdid it. He banked too much on his name rather than how good the product was.
Exactly, and like the reason this whole video is based off the Rise and Fall, like, Kaiji Inafune was the man, in my opinion, back when I worked at Capcom. Even though Capcom was screwing up, all the stuff that Kaiji was usually involved with, I enjoyed. Whether it was Mega Man, Resident Evil, and so on and so forth. And it's just like, the games were great, but like he was always on the artistic aspect, not the actual game design aspect. And I think, I'm not sure if he did or not, I assume he did since this was his game. He probably played a big hand in the actual game mechanics. At least to a certain extent.
Probably. That or he just had 90 million different variations of what Mighty Number 9 should look like, and somebody said, we'll put them all in.
Yeah, and the whole concept of back Mighty Number 9 is that he's supposed to change. And it kind of bugs me that they didn't go with their original designs, because, you know, at one point he had an ability where he had an actual magnetic arm that he could actually shoot forward, grab something, lift it over, and use it however he wants. Kind of like Link's grapple hook from like a Legend of Zelda game. That to me would have been a great game mechanic had they kept with that original concept, but they didn't for some reason or another. They went more the route of Mega Man ZX, Mega Man Advent, which were at one point you could actually become boss enemies. And this is kind of along the same lines as that, or getting the other Mega Man Biometal things. Now I know you didn't play those games, but like anyone who has played those games knows exactly what I'm talking about. And this is pretty much the same thing. And, you know, in the right hands, it can be really fun and really good. Not in this instant. And overall, when I first heard about, you know, Kaiji doing Mighty Number 9, you can bet your ass I was like, you know, rooting for him, rooting for this game to be amazing. And you'll find out how I actually feel about this game in my actual review later on, but this is just talking about the Rise and Fall of this company and him. Now, right now, I still have a lot of faith in Kaiji, Mr. Inafune, and I want him to, you know, get back on his feet and bring back, you know, what he was, you know, used to, games that we love, classic Mega Man, X, and it's just like, the question is, are those games in and of themselves at a dead end?
No, I just think he's at a dead end. I honestly don't want to see him involved any more than basic concepts with any of the games. Because he can draw some nice pictures, but that's about it. Because I've got issues with what I'm seeing with Mighty Number 9. I don't, like I said, I'm not trying to get into it all because it's not a review. But I think he should be left out of it. With Level 5 taking over, I'm hoping to see something fresh and yet familiar. I don't know how Mighty Number 9 is going to fit into it, but this...
Now, thing is, now
I appreciate he tried, but he just...
fell short. Let's be honest. He fell short and fell hard.
He did. And I'm not saying, like, judging on its own merits from what I've seen, I'm not saying it's a game I wouldn't play, but I'd be more likely to play it if you had never told me it's supposed to be a successor to Mega Man.
And I think I think that comes with the just prestige of Mega Man. The fact that, like, it has such a long, rich history as a game and as a series in and of itself that when you say something's going to be its successor, your expectations are all the way at the ceiling.
And that's true. And he should never have said that. He should have said, he could have said, I want to do something similar to Mega Man,
but don't
Man. Say it's a spiritual successor only based on the legal fact that you can't actually make a Mega Man game.
Right. And that definitely came back to bite him. Like, it absolutely did. Because, honestly, like I said, you'll find out in my review. But, honestly, it's just kind of sad. Because I wanted this game to succeed so much. But, like, you know, now we're getting an animated series. I'm not sure if it's still greenlit to do the animated series for Mighty Number 9. I kind of want to give it the benefit of the doubt if it actually is. It'd be interesting to see. But, I know for a fact that, like, Red Ash, going back to that, a little tidbit of this discussion, that the Kickstarter for the game failed. But they got backed by a third party called Fuse, which is, a Chinese company that we don't really know much about. We really don't know much about them.
They really should have looked at the fact of why it failed. No one's going to back a Kickstarter when you have nothing to show from the first one.
Yeah, that definitely played a big part of it. But here's the thing, though. The Red Ash anime succeeded. And honestly, it's kind of going for like a weird 3D-ish design that actually looks fairly interesting for what his powers are. Now, from what I'm seeing, his name is literal. He literally, like, turns into ash because he's, like, unstable genetically or something. Kind of like Beast Boy from Teen Titans, except he turns into Sans. Or Sandman, basically. It looks interesting. I like the idea.
This might be the one instance that it's better to have the anime first than the game, because
we can grow the character.
With the new company taking over and being able to do more, it'll give you a sense of the characters and all, and then you can go, okay, now if this is how they're supposed to act and this is how they're supposed to behave and this is the world that they live in, how do we convert that into a game? Especially since it's supposed to be a Legend style game. Then I think this might actually be the better way to go. Do the anime first, but
now here's my question to you. Had they done, say, the animated version of Mighty Number 9 first, then the game, do you think it would have changed anything?
No, because I don't feel like these type of games lend themselves to story. To those type of stories. Look at Mega Man. I'm sorry, but his cartoon was bad, yes, in a good way. But his cartoon was bad. It was a fun bad.
You love to make fun of that series. I don't care who you are. You love to make fun of it.
It was so bad. I loved it because it was just... Every episode was puns, and I love puns. But...
he's not kidding. He loves his damn puns. It's
so true. But the animation was bad. The voice acting was cheesy.
Now, at one point, they actually had an OVA version of Mega Man, which actually was more towards the game. Like, they actually came out of the video game itself. Wily, Mega Man, they just got done playing like a late night session with like a little kid. And Wily actually gets bored and leaves the game. Kind of Wreck-It Ralph style, except actually physically in the real world. That was actually good. That followed actually like similar to game plot. But overall, it doesn't matter what, the show for Mega Man was just bad.
It's true, but what's sad though is when you look at games like, move on to his younger brother in the future. Look at the X games when they started introducing full anime clips. Why aren't those television shows?
Seriously, what's it? There was the one X video where it's just like X, Sigma, and we finally see Zero going berserk, and then it's like the rise of Sigma, the Maverick, and I think it's like the Day of Sigma or the Rise of Sigma or something. I think that's what it's called. But like, it's a fully animated, little cutscene movie thing. It was actually part of Mega Man Maverick Hunter's game, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I would love to see it as an actual show, movie, or whatever. But you know what? For some unknown reason, we're not getting it. Ever.
I'm sorry to see Comcept Fall, but at the same time, he's obviously not cut out to have his own business. He's not cut out to run a business. And maybe that's why he reached the dead end in Capcom. Because Capcom obviously knew he didn't have the ability to move up in the company, and Capcom was too dumb to do anything with the franchise, so he had nothing to do.
It was a stalemate. Regardless how you looked at it, it was a stalemate between both. He was stuck because of the company, and the company was stuck because they couldn't do anything using his skill set.
Well, no, they could. They just didn't. They canceled it. They canceled Legends 3. They canceled Mega Man Universe, or whatever that was supposed to be. whatever that was supposed to be. But Capcom just doesn't know what they're doing anymore. The Resident Evil 7 wasn't critically well received.
No, 6 was terrible. 7 actually got some good reviews. 7 actually revived the whole horror survival genre for it.
See, but last I heard, it lost to a lot of player base real quick.
It did. I don't know the exact details, but I know it did, and I really need to refresh up on my news. But overall, 7 was a step in the right direction for a game that was not doing so hot. Now, compare that to Mega Man, where they're not doing anything at all. Is it worse to not do anything at all, or to be a dead horse? Like, that's the question, because people want the game. But do you give them mediocre games that are not worth it, or what?
Well, at this point, I mean, they have a franchise that's practically a license to print money. They're not utilizing it. If you look at the loss Resident Evil 7 eventually took, if you look at the debacle that was Street Fighter V, I mean, Dead Rising 4, I don't know how well that's doing. Granted, I have no interest in playing it at this point. But Capcom doesn't have a whole lot. Right now, they're banking on... Their next big bank is Marvel vs. Capcom 4.
Which is not looking so high itself.
And, they're using X instead of the original Mega Man. The last we saw the original Mega Man was in Smash Brothers.
Yep.
I mean...
And I still love that. Even though I'll probably never go see another Smash game again. If there is another Smash game, which I hope to God there is. I'm probably never going to see, Rockman again.
Well, no, and it's sad because the only way they consented was to ironically, is they let somebody else handle him.
Yep.
And yet when Comcept offered to do it, no, because they were bitter that he left. They just liked having the big name with them.
And... it all comes down to a game of pride then. Because I think in like someone else's hands, specifically Nintendo, and I mainly mean them specifically, or mainly them, but say you give Mega Man over to just Nintendo as an IP. Like, they could do amazing things with it, in my opinion.
Honestly, but see, I'd still be, even with Nintendo, I'd be afraid, because look at some of your best platformers back in the original Nintendo. DuckTales, Mega Man, Darkwing Duck. These are Chippendale. These are all well-known, beloved platformers. And who made them all? Capcom. So... And it's interesting, because look at Capcom's library now. None of them are platformers.
Yeah.
The closest you had to them doing anything was when they did the DuckTales remastered. Which I personally loved. I know that was a very polarizing game. You either loved it or hated it. But, I mean, all Capcom does with platformers now is re-release these half-arsed Legacy Edition. You had Mega Man Legacy 1. Then they just had the Disney Afternoon Collection. Now they announced Mega Man Legacy 2. And they're not even as good as the original collections they had back in the original Xbox, PlayStation 2, and GameCube era. That's what's even sad. They are being very minimum what they're doing. And they won't let they could have just let Comcept help. They could have said... They obviously don't have the experience other than...
Mega Man.
Other than Mega Man. Kenji or Kenji, whatever his name is. Kaiji, sorry. Sorry, guys. I'm really bad with the names. But he's obviously the only one with the experience in making the games. They didn't know what to do with it. So they didn't do anything.
The only thing they really changed with Mighty No. 9 in terms of formula was just add the dash mechanic. which is equivalent to X to X's dash, air dash, and I like the mechanic. I don't like, however, that it's your main way to defeat enemies. Like, yeah, you can blast them to death with your blaster, but it takes forever. When you can dash right through them, and it's so much faster. But it's just like, interesting idea, but not a Mega Man game it is.
No, well, honestly, since we keep turning it back into a review, it's too much Mega Man NT. And it doesn't even make sense for the world. He's in the real world, not a computer. Why is everything digitized?
He's in America.
So why is it digitized? Why do they explode in pixels and digital energy? It makes no sense.
It's all because of this Zell stuff, and they don't even explain that properly.
Honestly, that's why the concept fell, because he didn't know what the heck he was doing or what he wanted to do. He went for some things he thought were visually nice but didn't fit into the world. The Kickstarters was ridiculous. Kickstarter after Kickstarter after Kickstarter with no product to show for it.
One Kickstarter that got pushed back several times had another Kickstarter started during it. Then, another Kickstarter in that just for another completely different thing, which is like, an anime. And it's just like he had too much on his plate. Yeah, he had a ton of money to invest in the game. He had a ton of money to invest in the game. He had, a couple million, probably more than that. And it's just like, yeah, that's good money, but you also got to think about all the legal reasons. I mean, there's a reason why Capcom, I think, didn't really attack him in terms of just copyright. Because, like, they say it's not Mega Man, but it plays like Mega Man. It looks like Mega Man. It kind of feels like Mega Man. But
it failed unlike
Mega Man. And it's just, it comes down to the fact that, like, yeah, they had all that money from the Kickstarter. That was, super successful. But he still had to pay all his employees. He had to pay in order to get the games transferred on the different consoles. And mind you, when this game came out, it was on everything. Linux, PC, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox.
Which it originally wasn't supposed to be.
No.
That was only because he made so much money on the Kickstarter. And that may have been another thing. He obviously didn't have people who were comfortable programming on all those systems.
Because I know for a fact that, like, this for me plays fine on PlayStation. Now I know for, like, say, I think it's like Xbox, maybe it has like a frame rate issue. Or maybe, I know something has a frame rate issue, I forget which one it is. But overall, like, had they just said, say they go the route of Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight focused on PC first. They focused on PC specifically, and as the game got, the ball rolling, more momentum was going, they are being more and more successful because they were doing shit right. They were able to port to other, platforms. And look at it now. Now we got it on,
pretty much every system. The DS, the PlayStation 3, 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One,
Nintendo
Wii U,
everything. It's on everything now, and they thought it out thoroughly. There's like, okay, let's not overburden ourselves by trying to make this for everyone. Let's get what we can done, see how well it does, then go back. Now, say Kaiji did that, I think we would end up with a different story for Mighty Number 9. Now, granted, it would still have that whole looming, it's a successor, looming over its head, because people have high expectations for a classic, beloved game. That was never going to go away regardless. Ever since he said it was a successor, that loomed over the entire project.
It did. It really did. He had... Pretty much right there was the first shot fired, and he hit himself in the foot.
Several times.
It's true. Semi-automatic.
But, say they focus on one platform at all for just starting out, they came back and ported for something else. I guarantee you, we would have less problems. People who backed the game wouldn't have as much issues with, like, say, the wrong codes not working, not getting their stuff at all. Like, I feel like that would have been non-existent by comparison because then they're not over their heads. Because at a certain point, that was Concept dishing that stuff out.
Yeah.
So,
at the same time, I think they were going to take a little backlash anyway because this is just not the type. I'm not speaking for everybody, but like for me personally as a gamer, this is not the type of game I want to try to play on a computer anyway. So the fact that it was originally only supposed to be, right off the bat, was kind of a deterrent anyway.
Because originally it's for Linux, I think. I think it was originally meant for the Linux and PCs initially. For, you know, just initial release in terms of idea to see how, to test the water, see if it was going to go anywhere at all. And that's not a bad thing. There are plenty of, you know, PC gamers who play retro games that I personally would never play on PC. Nothing against PC, but like it's just not my platform.
Which is fine. But you know, I know a lot of things I'm saying is speculation. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody commenting going, hey, well, this is not true. Check your fact. No, I don't know what happened at the offices behind the scenes. I'm only guessing by how things got executed and how they turned out. And which, to me, I mean, there's a logic to what I'm saying. But I could be wrong, and it just could have been a very bad series of bad luck. But I really believe there was definitely some of what I was saying. I really believe there was some truth to what I said. But anyway,
we're pretty much reaching the end here. So, quick recap. Overall, I would say the reason for the rise and fall of Concept and Kaiji at this point is just for the fact that his plate,
his eyes were bigger than his stomach.
Yeah, and you know, in some cases that can be a good thing. Trying to be, I want to say passionate, but that's not the word that I think fits. Ambitious. I think he was too ambitious.
I agree. I think, yeah, I think that's a good summation of it. I think this was a good topic, but it was a loaded one. There was a lot of different angles to cover with it.
I mean, I know this topic's been talked to death. I just wanted to finally have my 2 cents on it, and I know you've been keeping tabs on this as well, because it's just like, it's from our favorite games and the man who brought those games to us.
It's true.
So it's kind of hard not to be kind of salty about it, I guess.
That's a good way to put it.
And overall, like, I'm not hating on Kaiji. I'm just disappointed.
It's true.
So, with that, I think we're going to lead off here. We kind of got off topic several times. It started turning to a review at some point, but I'm going to give you guys an official review next week for Mighty Number 9.
Yeah, so in the feel free to leave your comments below how you feel about the situation. What you liked about Mighty Number 9, what you didn't like, if you still have faith in the company or at least the franchises and where they're ending up, or if you think that he even should have bothered.
I mean, even, you know, do you think Mega Man will have a chance of coming back at all or not? Do you think Red Ash is going to be, you know, another Mighty Number 9 situation? Do you think the animes are going to be worth it or not? Or if you think we're low shit. I mean,
well,
by all means, join the conversation. Let us know what you think. I mean, we love talking. We love it if you guys could join in the conversation.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'm Ash.
I'm Card Dreamer.
And we're signing off. Please like, subscribe, comment below. Please comment below. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.